Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone, depending on when you're watching this. This is Scott Smith, and I'm here with another Saturday service. We're going to go into a different tack today. I'm going to be doing a little bit more channeling than I am speaking, so excuse me while I get comfortable with spirit and draw from the deck today. I am not certain how long this one is going to be. Rather than lead with story, I wanted to lead with the cards. I'm using the Tarot of the Spirits. This is a very wonderful deck. This is by Pamela Eakins with original paintings and just a volume of a book that gives great esoteric meaning and poetry, I Ching, and things that go with it. I have charged this deck when we did the Karuna HolyFireReiki Master Training. One of the ways that I teach that class is connecting to those mighty dead of that tradition, the energies, those in the current, and using a system. And we got a way to do that in our Karuna Holy Fire training that is unique to our teachings. So you're not going to find it anywhere else. But in the end, it creates a very great clear guidance connection for you in your work. So that is what we're drawing from today. Resonating with the frequencies of this week's energy is ammonite. This has been around for some time. This is fossilized and beautiful, mineralized being here. These have been around forever and ever, and these create great energies and contain great earth creative healing and wisdom patterns. I really like working with ammonite very much, and also quartz. I love quartz when I'm working with quartz. I remember that quartz is a magnifier, that it in itself, regardless of its inclusions, needs programming, it needs direction, it needs your direction. So when we're working with quartz, we don't just put it on because if it's going to magnify something, it's going to magnify what we're putting out unconsciously. We want to program it. We want to hold it with our hands, our hearts, our minds, our bodies, and our being and say, quartz, today, hello, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to magnify, this is what we're going to bring together. So for this particular source connection today, I'm going to use the magnification of Earth Spirit, the Holy Sophia, the energy of the goddess, and the great ones of the deep to come through. I ask that the pattern maker, the light, to shine upon this, and for the rich energy of the healing earth, the healing plants, the healing animals to be present. Our cards for today, as we draw from this deck, would be the Four of Water. This is called the Flood. The Moon. Brother Earth, or the Knight of Pentacles. And the influence to consider always from the bottom of the deck, the Emperor. So when we consider these cards today through the light of what these mean in this particular deck, so it does have that sort of avenue that the energy comes through, which is going to be overall guidance. It's going to be guidance of the bigger picture. It's going to be guidance of the long term or the broader pattern. Less about the small details and more about the big swath of things. I want to look at what we do with our energy when we are still. We can have great stillness practices that bring us into a place where we're contemplative, when we're feeling, when we're tapping into those things. But the Four of Cups is going to remind us that it's up to us to define the nature of those feelings and patterns and consider what we're going to do with them. The sort of negative aspect of the Four of Cups is that kind of apathy, is that sulking, is that stewing in the emotional content. You just sort of want to watch that. If that starts to come up at the start of this week, remember it's up for you It's up to you to take the action that's necessary to shift the content. Remember, we're witches, we twist fate. We understand the patterns of things, and we can tap into them to create new patterns, new wave motions, new perspectives, new directions. There's not just one direction, there's many. We can go different ways. We just need to grab that well and spindle of the wheel and sort of say, I feel this, yes, and I honor I feel that, yes, and what are we going to do with this? Are we going to dwell in this? Are we going to live with this? Are we going to go a different direction? That's entirely up to you what that direction is. The second card that we have there was the moon. And this can be a card of both dreams and emphasis on the dreams and also illusions. But in this particular instance, it almost feels as if there's a greater emotional pattern underlying the culture of things which we're a part of that we might be experiencing, and this might be informing our emotional or our subconscious nature. Meaning, consider the way that the world around you, both the natural world and the human world, and its politics and religions and fights and loves and all those sorts of things, the big movements of those might be influencing or impacting what you're doing at this time, and consider how what you're feeling might be influenced by those things. So the smart way to deal with that is do a little moon magic, right? Because we have the moon card showing up. The moon is now past full. It was a full in Aries, so we're into Taurus, or depending on when you're watching this, maybe Gemini, looking at how we can steward an energy out, or how we can tap into that trickster energy, and in what way those spirits can best work with us this week as we figure the ways that we'd like for things to flow for ourselves. When I see the moon in this way too, I am reminded that the path is not always clear like a dreamscape. The bird may not just be a bird. The falcon that you see might represent an aspect of yourself, or depending on who you ask, and I believe that this is true, when we see a falcon in the dream, it's to recognize that it's not just an archetypal energy, but that it is a spirit talking to us. So there are many perspectives that we can see things from, and to look at what perspective that we're sort of entrenching, settling, or centering in, and ask if maybe there is a different perspective to which we might see things. Because the way forward may not be clear, but there is one. It might just be more circuitous, or it might be a crooked path. And the third card that we have here is that Brother Earth. And remember, this is the Knight of Pentacles. I really love the Sun and Taurus energy here. There is an innocence to this card. I think this is Aries, Taurus, Taurus. The energy on this one speaks to the Four of Cups, the flood, which is about emotional purity. Now, this is not to say some sort of like pure better than thou, or Francis Farmer, cleanliness is godliness, if you know that movie, bonus points. But actually, when we're talking about emotional purity, we're really talking about getting really deep down into what is exactly motivating us. And when we understand what's really motivating us, the Knight of Pentacles in relationship to the cups and the moon can say, and so our direction really needs to be strongly pointed this way. Think about that Aries initiative with that double Taurus. It's like two bulls with the Aries driver, right? It's got this power to finally move the boat forward. This may not have been possible unless you have reviewed and addressed things previously. So sort of look at that. Why is this emotion coming up? What's the pattern that's presented here? What does this mean for me? How do I affirm this for myself, and in what direction am I going to go? What spirits do I really need to call to? If I look at the week ahead, I would say Taurus, I would say Gemini, I would say Cancer energies, and maybe even a little bit of those Leo, depending on how, I'm not sure of the lunar days this month. I don't have my calendars, for this week, sorry, I don't have my calendar, but you just look in these associated spirits with those. Or if you work in the astrological mansions of the moon, you might want to check those in relationship to the cards for those sorts of things, because this is about clarity of feeling. And when clarity of feeling arises, we recognize the pattern. When we understand the pattern, we can make better informed choices about what direction we need to go for ourselves. We can tap into that inner child, that inner rich energy that, almost Empress comes up for me when I see that Taurus Knight of Brother Earth, Knight of Coins, even though it's a male presenting card, so to speak. It has that energy to it, which is that green earth energy, this abundance that's there. The thing to watch for when we pull from the bottom of the deck, these are things that are not necessarily directly seen, but that are at play. So what's at play is that there is a plan already in motion. There's an energy already in motion. There is something that may even have been disrupted for you in the past over the last 6 months that might be returning to resolve itself. So I would look at that moon and the Emperor to say, what was 6 months ago, right? What was 5 months ago? What were I planning? What were I doing? And in what way is that played out now, or what way is that influencing now? Because when I see that Emperor, this is not a king. This is an emperor. This is someone who is handling the whole bloody picture, right? The whole landscape of things. And this energy says that there was something that was already put into motion. So I would look back on journals, and I would look back at that, 6-month period, probably closer to that 6-month mark, just to sort of see what was happening there. And see how that could be affecting or influencing you now. Remember, if you've done a spell and that spell has not manifested, but you feel that the energy is still in motion and it's no longer serving its purpose, you can remediate that spell by doing something to unbind it from its purpose. Every spell is a thought form that we set out into the universe, and it is alive with your pleasure and passion to fulfill itself, and you can release it from its service to go out into the universe and dissipate and be whatever it's going to be elsewhere if it's not manifesting for you. So to consider those things. What are you feeling? What patterns are informing those feelings? What can you do about that, and how can you shift that in your favor? Look back over the last 6 months and see what is there and how that might be influencing you now, specifically any big plans or things that you had set in motion or that someone had set in motion for you. See where they're at and what needs to change about those things. Thank you for watching. This is Scott Smith. You can find me at starandstonellc.com. I am also at patreon.com/ScottKSmith, where the write-up for this particular reading is placed alongside the video for those who have subscribed free and above, but you must subscribe to read them. You can also find me on all the socials. I am available for online readings and healings, consulting, classings, and teaching. I am currently in the North Bay area, California, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you so much for watching. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be.